Hello, hello. What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Okay. Hello, this is Sunko, the Korean bro. I'm back. Today is June, July, August, September 16th. And I'm off of my work and I'm back here again in my seat, right? Okay, tonight's menu is traditional Korean sweets, which is what I call 한과 tonight. I prepared 4 한과 tonight. If you can see it, it's visible here. It's got a variety of colors. It's hard for you to see. It's all white. But if you look at it closely, it looks like this. It's coated with popped rice. See? It's quite soft. Hello, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Okay, tonight's menu is 한과. Like I said earlier, it's a light and fluffy sweets made from sticky rice and honey. And it's pretty popular in Korea. It is deep coated. It is deep fried and coated with popped rice and cinnamon, sesame, and etc. I mean, it's not the food that like I eat on a daily basis, but like this is the like kind of food that I get when people give presents to one another. And for me, I would never, literally, like never. Oh, hello, Imung. How are you? Tonight's menu is 한과. Oh, I was explaining what 한과 is. Okay, let me go on. It's not the food that I eat on a daily basis. Like this is kind of food that I get when people give presents to one another. It was given to me like a few days ago, and it was in the kitchen. I brought it here. Like I said earlier, like for me, I would never, literally, like never buy this food in grocery store or local market. But I would buy something different instead. There are a lot of goods, right? Like out there. So, but I guess the reason like this is still like symbolic and still popular in Korea because it's pretty and said to be delicious among elderlies, like among people who are a bit old, not like my generation, but like oh, thank you so much, thank you so much. Okay, let me go on. But for me, yeah. Okay, just so you know, I want to be really clear on this. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't taste good. I'm just saying it's not the kind of snack that I would, like, wear something and go out and pay for it. You know, if it's given to me, I'd be glad to have it. That's the kind of food this is. Like, for me in this case, like, you know what I mean, right? So, I prepared 4 tonight, and I'm going to have like each bite, okay? Mm. Let's see. Mmm. Still good. Still good. Mmm. Mmm. Pretty good though. Mmm. If you look at it closely, it's coated with popped rice. So it's kind of bumpy. Let's see. Look at it. Pew. Yeah. Sometimes there are moments where I feel like I have to talk something about it. Yeah, I am happy. I am happy because I'm eating something good tonight and I'm in my seat talking freely, which makes me feel better, especially I'm done working out just an hour ago. That's why I'm so happy. I'm always happy though. Anyway, go try it. If you're a foreigner, it's the must try menu. Um, if you don't know where to buy this, just ask me. Then I could recommend the store or websites that you can go to. Hmm. Where am I? Where am I? I'm confused. What are you trying to talk about? Where am I? Where am I? I'm in my room. You are in your room, aren't you? Okay. Tonight's let's see where I left off last night. I was reading the book called The Most Dangerous Game, right? Oh, okay. Mm. Okay. Hold on for a second. Since this is YouTube live, like I'm really cautious of what I say. If I speak something bad about like specific person, I'm afraid that that comment would hurt that specific person. So I'm trying my best uh, mm, to filter out the comments that I have to say and the comments that I should not say. Oh, I'm really cautious about what I say. So, but at this moment, there's a one person like watching me, and this person is really important to me. Really, really, really important, and this person makes me happy these days. Maybe that's the reason why I'm smiling right now. Okay. Um, I would more talk about that specific person as the time goes on. Uh, I'll just put it. I'll just leave it at this point. Okay. Hmm. Okay. All right. I'll read a book. Hmm. But nevertheless, Rainsford could not quiet his brain with the opiate of sleep. He lay, eyes wide open, once he thought he heard stealthy steps in the corridor outside his room. He sought to throw open the door. It would not open. He went to the window and looked out. His room was high up in one of the towers. The lights of the chadu were out now, and it was dark and silent, but there was a fragment of solar moon, and by its one light he could see, dimly, the courtyard. There, weaving in and out in the pattern of shadow, were black, noiseless forms. The hounds heard him at the window and looked up expectantly. With their green eyes, Rainsford went back to the bed and lay down. By many methods he tried to put himself to sleep. He had achieved a dozen when, just as morning began to come, he heard, far off in the jungle, the faint report of a pistol. General Zerov did not appear until luncheon. He was dressed faultlessly in the tweeds of a country squire. He was solicitous about the state of Rainsford's health. As for me, sighed the general, I do not feel so well. I'm worried, Mr. Rainsford. Last night I detected traces of my old complaint. To Rainsford's questioning glance, the general said, "Ennui, boredom." Then, taking a second helping of Krapp's Suzu tea, the general explained, "The hunting was not good last night. The fellow lost his head. He made a straight trail that offered no problems at all. That's the trouble with these sailors. They have dull brains to begin with, and they do not know how to get about in the woods. They do excessively stupid and obvious things. It's most annoying. Will you have another glass of Chablis, Miss Rainsford?" The general said Rainsford firmly. "I wish to leave this island at once." The general raised his thickets of eyebrows. He seemed hurt. "But, my dear fellow," the general protested, "you've only just come. You've had no hunting." "I wish to go today," said Rainsford. He saw the dead black eyes of the general on him, studying him. General's rough face suddenly brightened. He filled Rainsford's glass with venerable Chablis from a dusty bottle. "Tonight," said the general, "we will hunt. You and I." Rainsford shook his head. "No, general," he said, "I will not hunt." The general shrugged his shoulders and delicately ate a hothouse grape. "As you wish, my friend," he said. "The choice rests entirely with you. But may I not venture to suggest that you will find my idea of sport more devoting than Evans's?" He nodded toward the corner to where the giant stood, scowling, his thick arms crossed on his whole shadow chest. "You don't mean," cried Rainsford. "My dear fellow," said the general, "have I not told you I always mean what I say about hunting? This is really an inspiration. I drink to a foeman worthy of my steel at last." The general raised his glass, but Rainsford sat staring at him. "You will find this game worth playing," the general said enthusiastically. "Your brain against mine, your woodcraft against mine, your strength and stamina against mine. Outdoor chess. And the stake is not without value, eh?" "And if I win," began Rainsford huskily, "I'll cheerfully acknowledge my self-defeat." "If I do not find you by midnight of the third day," said General Zaroff, "my sloop will place you on the mainland near a town." The general read what Rainsford was thinking. "Oh, you can trust me," said "Of course you in turn must agree to say nothing of your visit here." "I'll agree to nothing of the kind," said Rainsford. "Oh," said the general, "in that case, but why discuss it now? 3 days hence we can discuss it over a bottle of Louisville Cook unless—" The general sipped his wine. Then a business-like air animated him. "Even," he said to Rainsford, "will supply you with hunting clothes, food, and a knife. I suggest you wear moccasins. They leave a polar trail. I suggest, too, that you avoid the big swamp in the southeast corner of the island. We call it Death Swamp. There's a quicksand there. One foolish fellow tried it. The deplorable part of it was that lizards followed them. You can imagine my feelings, Miss Rainsford. I loved Lazarus. He was the finest hound in my pack. Well, I must beg you to excuse me now. I always take a siesta after lunch. You will hardly have time for a nap, I fear. You will want to start, no doubt. I shall not follow till dusk. Hunting at night is so much more exciting than by day, don't you think? Au revoir, Mr. Rainsford, au revoir. General Ruff, with a deep, quarterly bow, strolled from the room. From another door came Even. Under one arm he carried a cocky hunting cloth, a haversack of food, a leather sheath containing a long-bladed hunting knife. His right hand rested on a cocked revolver thrust in the crimson sash about his waist. Rainsford had fought his way through the bush for 2 hours. I must keep my nerve. I must keep my nerve, he said through tight teeth. He had not been entirely clear-headed when the two gates snapped shut behind him. His whole idea at first was to put distance between himself and General Zaroff, and to this end, he had plunged along, spurred on by the sharp roars of something very like panic. Now he had not a grip on himself, had stopped, and was taking stock of himself and the situation. He saw that straight flight was futile. Inevitably, it would bring him face to face with the sea. He was in a picture with a frame of water, and his operations, clearly, must take place within that frame. I'll give him a trail to follow, muttered Rainsford, and he struck off from the rude path he had been following into the trackless wilderness. He executed a series of intricate routes. He doubled on his trail again and again, recalling all the lore of the fox hunt and all the dodges of the fox. Nights found him lag weary, with hands and face lashed by the branches, on a thickly wooded ridge. He knew it would be insane to blunder on through the dark, even if he had the strength. His need for rest was imperative, and he thought, I have played the fox. Now I must play the cat of the fable. A big tree with a thick trunk and outspread branches was nearby, and taking care to leave not the slightest mark, he climbed up into the crotch and stretching out on one of the broad limbs, after fashion, rested. Rest brought him new confidence and almost a feeling of security. Even so zealous a hunter as General Zerov could not trace him there, he told himself. Only the devil himself could follow that complicated trail through the jungle after dark. But perhaps the general was a devil. On a pensive night, crawled slowly by like a wounded snake, and sleep did not visit Rainsford. Although the silence of a dead world was on the jungle, toward morning when a dingy gray was varnishing the sky, the cry of some startled bird focused Rainsford's attention in that direction. Something was coming through the bush, coming slowly, carefully, coming by the same winding way Rainsford had come. He flattened himself down on the limb and drew a screen of leaves almost as thick as tapestry. He watched. That which was approaching was a man. It was a General Zaroff. He made his way along with his eyes fixed in utmost concentration on the ground before him. He paused, almost beneath the tree, dropped to his knees, and studied the ground. Rainsford's impulse was to hurl himself down like a panther, but he saw that the general's right hand held something metallic, a small automatic pistol. Okay, let me explain to you the situation a bit. Now, the generals are rough, and the main character, Rainsford, they are one-on-one, like versus situation. Hmm. Since General Zerofa loves hunting, he's trying to hunt Rainsford, and Rainsford thought to himself that he was hiding at the perfect spot, but now he finds out that He's now spotted. General Zaroff just found where Rainsford was, and I'll see how the situation goes. He paused almost beneath the tree, dropped to his knees, and studied the ground. The Rainsford's impulse was to hurl himself down like a panther. Okay, danger, right? But he saw that the general's right hand held something metallic, a small automatic pistol. Now General Zaroff is holding a gun. Hmm. The hunter shook his head several times, as if he were puzzled. Then he straightened up and took from his case one of his black cigarettes. Its pungent, incense like smoke floated up to Rainsford's nostrils. Wow, they're so close, right? They're really close. Rainsford held his breath. The general's eyes had left the ground and were traveling inch by inch up the tree. Rainsford froze there, every muscle tensed for a spring. Wow, every muscle tensed for a spring. Okay, but the sharp eyes of the hunter stopped before they reached the limb where Rainsford lay. A smile spread over his brown face. Very deliberately, he blew a smoke ring into the air. Then he turned his back on the tree and walked carelessly away, back along the trail he had come. The swish of the underbrush against his hunting boots grew fainter and fainter. The pent-up air burst hotly from Rainsford's lungs. His first thought made him feel sick and numb. The general could follow a trail. Through the woods at night, he could follow an extremely difficult trail. He must have uncanny powers. Only by the merest chance had the Cossack failed to see his quarry. Rainsford's second thought was even more terrible. It sent a shudder of cold horror through his whole being. Why had the general smiled? Why had he turned back? Rainsford did not want to believe what his reason told him was true, but the truth was as evident as the sun that had by now pushed through the morning mist. The general was playing with him. Okay? The general was saving him for another day's sport. The Cossack was the cat. He was the mouse. Then he was that Rainsford knew the full meaning of terror. I will not lose my nerve. Okay, definitely this guy, General Zaroff is playing with Rainsford. He obviously like what is it? General Zaroff obviously knows the game. He just is just playing around, right? And Rainsford feels horror, and now he finds the full meaning of terror, right? I will not lose my nerve, I will not. He slid down from the tree and struck off against into the woods. His face was set, and he forced the machinery of his mind to function. 300 yards from his hiding place, he stopped where a huge dead tree leaned precariously on a smaller living one. Throwing off his sack of wood, Rainsford took his knife from its sheath and began to work with all his energy. The job was finished at last, and he threw himself down behind a fallen log, 100 feet away. He did not have to wait long. The cat was coming again to play with the mouse. Okay, now it's funny that how he describes himself as mouse, and he describes General Zaroff as a cat. Mm. Following the trail with the sureness of a bloodhounded came General Zaroff. Nothing escaped those searching black eyes. No crushed blade of grass, no bent twig, no mark, no matter how faint in the moss, so intent exact on his stalking that he was upon the thing Rains made before he saw it. His foot touched the protruding bow that was the trigger. Even as he touched it, the general sensed his danger and leaped back with the agility of an ape. but he was not quite quick enough. The dead tree, delicately adjusted to rest on the cut, leaving one, crashed down and struck the general a glancing of blow on the shoulder as he fell. But for his alertness, he must have been smashed beneath it. He staggered, but he did not fall, nor did he drop his revolver. He stood there, rubbing his injured shoulder, and Rainsford, with fear again gripping his hurt, heard the general's mocking laugh ring through the jungle. Rainsford called the general. Now he's talking. Rainsford called the general. If you are within sound of my voice, as I suppose you are, let me congratulate you. Not many men know how to make a Malay man catcher. Luckily for me, I to have haunted in Malacca. You are proving you're proving interesting, Mr. Rainsford. I'm going now to have my wound dressed. It's only a slight one, but I shall be back. I shall be back. Hmm. When the general nursing his bruised shoulder had gone, Rainsford. Hmm, hold on a sec. Okay. Rainsford took up his flight again. It was flight now, a desperate, hopeless flight. They carried him on for some hours. Dusk came, then darkness, and still he pressed on. The ground grew softer under his moccasins. The vegetation grew ranker, denser. Insects beat him savagely. Then, as he stepped forward, his foot sank into the woods. He tried to wrench it back, but the mock sucked viciously at his foot as if it were a giant leech. With a violent effort, he tore his foot loose. He knew where he was now, Death Swamp and its quicksand. His hands were tight closed, as if his nerve were something tangible that someone in the darkness was trying to tear from his grip. The softness of the earth had given him an idea. He stepped back from the quicksand a dozen feet or so, and like some huge prehistoric beaver, he began to dig. Rainsford had dug himself in French when a second's delay meant death. That had been a placid pastime compared to his digging now. The pit grew deeper. When he was above his shoulders, he climbed out and from some hard saplings cut stakes and sharpened them to a fine point. These stakes he planted in the bottom of the pit with the points sticking up. With flying fingers he wove a rough carpet of weeds and branches, and with it he covered the mouth of the pit. Then, wet with sweat and aching with tiredness, he crouched behind the stump of a lightning charred tree. He knew his pursuer was coming. Pursuer was coming. He heard the padding sound of feet on the soft earth, and the night breeze brought him the perfume of the general's cigarette. It seemed to Rainsford that the general was coming with unusual swiftness. He was not feeling his way along, foot by foot. Rainsford, crouching there, could not see the general, nor could he see the pit. He leave the ear in a minute. Then he felt an impulse to cry aloud with joy, for he heard the sharp crackle of the breaking branches as the cover of the pit gave way. He heard the sharp scream of pain as the pointed stakes found their mark. He leaped up from his place of concealment, then he cowered back. 3 feet from the pit, a man was standing. Oh, it's getting scarier. Okay. With an electric torch in his hand. You've done well, Rainsford. The voice of the general called. Your Burmese tiger, Pete, has claimed one of my best dogs. Again, you score. Okay. I don't know how it's going to end, but what I can see is there's an explanation below at the bottom of the screen. It says time left in book is 6 minutes, and here's a 90%. So about 10% is left. But obviously, the main character Rainsford is in danger, and General's Ruff is definitely knows the game. All right, tonight the reading is over, and I'm not sure if you are there, but okay. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for coming. Bye bye.